This is about giant miscanthus and turkeys. I'm sorry that I haven't been on the air very much lately. We've been preparing for planting season. It seems like it's never going to stop raining. Our mud is getting dry. I'm very thankful for yesterday's rain so that our mud can get back to being mud. I have 20,000 miscanthus sitting in my barn right now. If you don't know what giant miscanthus is a 10 to 12 to 14 foot grass planted by the rhizome, not by the seed. It's a hybrid. Real World's probably got the best that's out there. There's some other stuff. I probably wouldn't go with them. I know that the hybrids coming from Real World are a big deal. I've planted hundreds of thousands of them. So I would call myself a miscanthus expert. I'm always thinking about how to plant them in the ground, to plant them 3 to 4 inches in the ground and then let that rhizome grow up. And what it does is it kind of grows on itself. And then if you plant it 12 to 18 inches away from each other in the row, those rows will one day grow together in the little shoots coming up that will then become the leaves. And what I find from Real World, I mean, that's a Don Higgins thing. If you buy seed and switchgrass, those guys have done a good job of keeping things kind of on the front when it comes to switchgrass and miscanthus. Seed-wise, we use white gold, of course. But they have good beans, and they have miscanthus. Those are the two things I buy from Real World. They're an Illinois company. Wesley Delks is a really good guy. I don't know who is involved anymore down there, but they're like, when it comes to seeds, it's about white gold for me. And it's planting season. I'll talk and get into giant miscanthus, but it truly is something that benefits me when it comes to a border grass. And it's incredible because I didn't know what a rhizome was, aka a root. But a rhizome is kind of like a big root ball that you can cut off these little pieces. And, lots of perennial tuber type stuff, hostas, even switchgrass, I guess, would have a little baby rhizome. They're where you can transplant parts of the plant and then they'll grow new plants from there. You don't want something that has a rhizome to have a seed with it because then you have this seed propagating and that's when it becomes something invasive. So genetically bred hybrid type plants like giant miscanthus from Real World. So it's kind of cool. I want to talk about that. And turkeys. Turkeys are my wife's favorite thing on the planet to hunt. She's not big on mornings and cold. It only took her 20 something years of being with me to tell me this. When she was trying to trap me in marriage and take her hunting and do all this stuff, she would sit all day in the cold, go to North Dakota, hunt winters. She'll still do it for me, but boy, she don't like it. But turkeys, when you get out there in the morning, I think it's the gobbling. I think it's the response. I think she would lose her mind if she ever went elk hunting. But when you can get out there in the morning and give an old into the trees, on the ridges, coming in, that whole response coming back and forth, the turkeys, I mean, I really think that is what fires her up. So if you ever wanted your woman to go out and hunt with you, and she's not hunting, but she's an outdoors person, get her going. Find out where they're going to be. Deer hunt the turkeys. Use the trail cam. Use an old Tacticam with a cell cam, and you can do what my buddy Sam Brown does. Sam is a bona fide turkaholic. Okay, he is hunting big spurs. It is so cool to see some of the guys. I think it's mainly south. You get south, man, southern Illinois and south, you will find out that people are obsessed with turkeys. They're as obsessed with turkeys. Hopefully it's another person buying some land. We sold a piece of land yesterday, but it seems like the guys in the South, I don't know if it's not because they have the big deer of the Midwest or whatever, but they were born and bred to hunt turkeys in big woods and swamps and timber. And down south, Georgia, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, these guys are turkey hunting fools. I got to throw Florida in there. Florida, these guys hunting easterns in northern Florida, and then Osceola's down there around Kissimmee and Orlando and stuff. Like, they are turkaholic, man. And Sam Brown, one of my good friends and clients that became a friend, I'm on his property, and I'm like, why are all your trail cameras a foot off the ground? Like, I literally thought something was weird about this. Like, I really thought, like, why when we're in the woods, why are your cameras a foot off the ground? And come to find out, he's like, well, I really like hunting mature birds, really hard to kill birds. And the older the bird, if you don't know much about turkeys, the older the bird, the longer the spur. Beards, not so much. Let me give you some turkey facts here. So Sam would put out his cameras in Kentucky and Illinois, I think, and he would search for the most mature bird and the really big spurs. So if you've seen a rooster or when you see dominant, like, cock rooster type birds, they're always going to have a rooster, or whether it be like a, chicken rooster, or whether it be a turkey. The males always have big, you know, pterodactyl looking hook spur things, and chickens, amazingly. I've always heard cockfighting and stuff in Mexico, and it's illegal, it's cruelty to animals and whatever. But in that they would have, I can't believe how big some rooster chicken spurs are. They're pretty incredible. And that the same goes for a turkey. A wild turkey, whether it be a Merriam or an Eastern or a Gould's or a Rio or an Ocellated or an Osceola, or like your main Eastern, you're going to look and you're going to see a spur that's about 3/4 to an inch, and that's normally a 2-year-old turkey. Those are the main gobblers. Turkey gobbler. That's when they have a full fan. They weigh somewhere between 16 and 26 pounds. They're a full bird with a full fan with a full gobble. They're not some like Jake, like, and they do this weird little thing. And so when you get out in the woods, you can kind of determine whether there's big gobblers over here. And sometimes you'll have a super Jake. And that super Jake will gobble like a big boy. And he'll come in like a big boy, but he doesn't have a big fan always. And yeah, man. Hey, sometimes when I'm in the studio, and they distract me from talking to the people out there. I got guests in the studio appointed. I got my man Bucky here behind the camera. He's hanging out with me today. We're discussing Miscanthus. We've kind of got a rain day here. He works at an outfitter, and he wanted me to give a shout out to Bucked Up Supplements. Right? There's some people that have been behind Bucky and appointed outdoors, and he's right here behind the studio. I was just giving him a little hand. It's the first time he's ever done podcasts. They got a show on Waypoint and Waypoint, and where's the other one?
Carbon TV and all social media outlets, sir. Hello to everybody out there.
Oh, that's Bucky. So we've just been catching up. I cooked breakfast this morning. He came over. He's helped me with equipment. I'm old. See, my back hurts, and every once in a while I need some help. But we're sorting Miscanthus this morning. We're getting things ready on the trailer, and I think we're a go today to plant some Miscanthus. But back to kind of the turkey. So in the South, man, you're chasing hooks. And I think the more you know about turkeys, you have like a 2-year-old that's got like a 3/4, you got an inch. And the older the turkey, as long as he doesn't live in rocks, those spurs will keep getting bigger. Now, when it comes to a beard, I don't think many people realize this about turkeys. There's a couple facts I can throw down about turkeys. But the one thing about turkeys is, their legs are only so long. And when they eat, they lean over to eat. And the beard that they have on them is a modified type of a feather that has these little strains or strands of this weird little beard thing that drags on the ground. The more it drags on the ground, the more it wears off. So if you were to have a turkey and that turkey never bent over, let's say you gave him Forrest Gump legs, right? And these little braces on his legs, and he always ate standing up, and he never bent over, and that beard never rubbed on the ground, that beard would grow 24 inches, 36 inches, just depend. That beard would continue to grow as long as it was healthy and didn't have beard rot or things like that. So when I hear people say something like, man, I had a 10.5-inch beard, had a 12-inch beard, and I had an 1.5-inch spur, that just meant the turkey had long legs, or his beard came out of his body a little weird. Because all beards are going to be only as long as they need to be before they rub on the ground. And most people don't know that. So when you hear people bragging about, I killed me one with a 13-inch beard, well, he probably was just a genetic weirdo that had a beard that came down first, or maybe had a burr in there sticking it to his chest and it just didn't rub off on the ground. But that is how beards become its whatever length. Because if you didn't have it rubbing on the ground, it would grow feet long. Because it's a feather, it's just going to keep growing. Oh, that's a little turkey fact. Now, sometimes you have seasons where you have a lot of toms or a lot of jakes. A jake is a immature tom. It's like a button head for a whitetail. And a jake is going to just not have as much meat. We actually killed a jake this year, one of my buddies' first turkey ever. 8 of them come in and destroyed the DSD decoys. But, that I cannot believe the difference in meat in a turkey that's less than a year old and then a 2-year-old tom. The meat difference, if you're hunting meat, turkey, the other white meat, is one, incredible. Number two, I can't believe the meat difference in a jake and a full tom at over 2 years old. And so that's like the beard thing. So if your buddy's giving you a hard time because he killed a bigger beard, that's just because the turkey evidently didn't bend over as much, because all beards wear off and they're all somewhere between, when it gets mature, somewhere between 11 and 12 inches. You might have a little strand that's a little longer. But, don't let that be a determination of how old a turkey is. I also have a theory that most of the outdoor TV and outdoor industry, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok world that I see nowadays is, you would think that turkeys were just invented and this was the first turkey season that anyone had ever hunted, because I don't know if I've ever seen so much turkey content on the planet Earth than I've seen on social media in the last 3 months. Well, turkey hasn't been in that long. Well, in the last 3 weeks to a month, I have seen more people post pictures of turkeys. I saw a guy, when I killed my turkey, and posted a picture. I'm holding up like a dead duck, like a chicken, like it's just a bird I'm going to eat. It's pretty awesome. I've killed a lot of them. But to me, it was like, what can I do different than holding up this beautiful fan and making it look all cool? So I just held it up like a dead duck. It got like 2,000 likes. And I don't know if the fact is that people saw it and were like, well, he's not posing like it's this, beautiful peacock and, all this stuff. It was just a dead turkey, right? And I don't know if that was refreshing, because I had a guy message me, and this, I'm not really making fun of him. I don't think I'm making I think I'm just exploring what my feelings are. But I had a guy send me a turkey. You guys with me? You guys with me, Jody and Bucky? You guys with me? Listen, here's the deal. A guy sent me a device that he created, and I don't know how to feel about it, but it was a turkey display thing that you stuck on the ground. You put the turkey on it. It held the turkey open. It held the wings open, and all you had to do was hold the fan. And it was for sale online. And I did not know that holding a turkey was such a crazy task that you needed a tool for it. It is one of the things that makes my brain go, where we are at in the scheme of things, where we have this turkey rack holding device for a picture to say, look what I can do. Look at social media. Look what I can do. I killed a turkey. I've got it fanned out. It's the most perfect picture ever. Pull the bird up. It's okay. You killed a turkey. Box checked. Go on to deer season. Go on to planting. I don't know how to do it, but it is definitely a subject. But when they sent me one, it was like, you need one of these. That really hurt my brain last week when that happened. The best turkey picture I got is my wife holding one up by the neck in the middle of the field, and then taking a picture of my wife on the tailgate with a big dead ass turkey with a big fan and her pretty smile. And she loved it, right? But she didn't go like, here, let me get this for the gram, guys. I think things are going a little. But shout out to Power Calls. I think I don't remember his name. I think his name's Bo. He's the guy with the floppy hair. Looks like Jimmy Lee, about 20 years old. Him and another guy are making these power calls. They're the most expensive call I've ever used in my life. I haven't paid for calls in probably about 30 years, but I went and bought some of these calls at Bass Pro Shop. They had the Mockingbird, and then they had this little green V. Now, the coolest part is when I go look for a turkey call, because I grew up back in the days where, the HS boys and all the turkey guys. I mean, that's how this industry started, was turkey guys selling calls, and then people put them in Realtree and Mossy Oak camo, and then they They paid them salaries, and they run around the country trying to promote calls. And they said, well, as long as we're promoting turkey calls, why don't we promote deer calls? And then they made HS and they made Primos and whatever. And so back in the old days when these guys were making calls, they were buying condoms at the store, CVS, Fogler's, Walgreens, and they're buying non-lubricated condoms. And in the truck driving across the country, I had buddies with me that had a little mold made out of aluminum, was milled, and they would have these little clamps and would be cutting pieces of prophylactic, not rubber latex, but prophylactic. Very sensitive, very thin. Didn't last long as far as a turkey call goes, but were by far the greatest sounding calls because of the wine and the material. And I watched this turkey call world go through this latex, 3-reed ghost cut, V cut, triple nipple grubbler cut on the right side with a fang. And like I watched all this stuff, but they all went back to latex. Why? Latex was cheaper, it was more durable, people had them forever, but they didn't call turkeys well. And they just went, and as long as you did the cadence, you could kill a turkey. And so you watched all this happen. And then here comes these young guys, social media presence, having links to buy it, being able to make money on direct to the consumer buys, change the market of turkey calls. And all of a sudden you've got, it's Bo Brooks, Beeau Brooks. He's got a commercial out for Mockingbird. I already bought a bunch of calls, so it doesn't even matter if they send me any. This isn't a shameless plug, but way to go, boys. Round of applause. Let me see if I can hit my round of applause button. Nope, that's crickets. That's not it. Oh, that's not it. Oh. Bo Brooks, everybody, and his people at Power Calls. Way to go, bringing back prophylactic calls, man, and cutting them and hand making them for people and selling them. And way to go being a capitalist. You're out there making money and you're charging a little more. You're charging a little more for quality. And it's no difference than when you're buying, a Benelli. You use one shotgun over my 870 I grew up with. Is it a better gun? Does it kill more? Nah, but it's definitely what I wanted, and it definitely works better. And you're getting what you pay for. But way to go to this younger generation. There's not a lot of times that I could give accolades to. This guy, I think, really just loves turkey. I know he's a world champion elk caller. Can elk call like this guy? Like he's a world class elk caller. Like this guy's out hustling. And I love the way his presence is on social media because he's not trying to be Mr. Super Duper Duper cool guy. I think the guy's literally half turkey. He had lived with a call in his mouth. I feel like he's going to do what he's doing, whether anybody buys his calls or not. And to me, that is hats off. The romance of the original hunting industry being brought back. So he might have skeletons closet. He I don't know. He might have a bag of cocaine and some hookers in Central Park. He might, but I don't know that for a fact. His image that comes across is a dude that loves turkeys, good guy in his 20s, making cool calls that sound incredible out of prophylactic rubber. And these calls are whiny and they're beautiful and they're awesome. And just way to go, man. Oh, hurry. Found a so that's a big deal. That's a big deal to a guy that understands the hard work that goes into that, and not to sell out. Now, if you ever go to latex and you're selling them off because you sold out to the big box stores, well, but I remember traveling across the country, going to hunt with Ryan Klesko and Low Cash and JT, putting together hunts with all the celebrities, and then I would go as a hunter, and I liked all these guys. And I went and picked up Billy Yargis at his house in Missouri, world champion, unbelievable turkey caller. And this guy was giving me calls that he made at home, and he still makes great calls. I think I still have some that I literally didn't use just to put up. I was like, Billy made these. He's a legend. I got zinc calls, duck and goose calls that they just sent me at one time. They're like, Zinc pulled this beautiful goose call acrylic off and is like, dude, that looks like a Brackett call. Send it to him. I got this stuff put up. that stuff used to happen all the time. And that's really cool. These calls are a big deal. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Jody, have you ever, you've seen some of those things. But hey, Bucky, have you ever seen what I'm talking about, the difference between the latex calls and then the prophylactic calls, like the difference in how they sound?
Yes, sir. I have. I will say though, I have not used anything like you're speaking of though, so I'm a rookie on that one.
Yeah, you guys got a call company. Hey, call them up and they'll tell you old stories about what's that call company?
Conviction.
Oh, where are they at?
They're down south.
See, down south, dude. Turkey freaks.
Yes, sir.
They start out as turkey freaks, and they're like, dude, I had this giant come by. I'm like, hey, yo, that's a 3-year-old. He's like, yeah, but he's dead now. He's going back to Georgia. But you ask the boys at Conviction.
Huh?
Yeah. Ask them about prophylactic mouth calls. And then like the difference, if they have some, have them send you some or whatever, and you'll notice the difference. Like they don't last as long. Like they'll dry rot. But the whining and the high end and the rasp.
Yeah, I love the rasp aspect of them.
It's a whole different game.
For sure.
So you have to turkeys. I was talking about the different kinds of turkeys. You've got your Eastern, which is like from middle Florida up all the way up to Maine, and then go out to like Nebraska, Kansas, and then kind of, Kansas and Nebraska, they start turning into Rios. A little bit of we're typing. It gets distracting.
Oh my!
We're doing a podcast. What would you pick that up if I was Joe Rogan? But he sounded $30-something million Spotify deal. You're in my zone. We're good. We're good. We're getting the sign. We're good. I'm getting the sign. We're good. All right, we got Bucky back on track here. So I can't believe I'm boring him. Like, am I boring you?
No, my man. I mean, but you are a businessman. Are you not a businessman? I'm a businessman too, and at certain times, I'm not saying you're boring at all because I'm really taking a lot from you right now. I did not even know that they made calls from prophylactic, so you're blowing my mind. But I did have to take a little bit of a text message on that.
You can do that all day long.
I hear you.
Oh my gosh. I hear you. You're killing me, Smalls.
Dude, this guy right here, I'll tell you, he is a piece of work. I'm not gonna lie to you. Being able to, I met him at the Illinois. You're right. I keep saying that Illinois show. That's why I corrected myself. Yeah. Because I'm an Eastern guy. You know what I mean? And just being out here, but Illinois. I met him at the Illinois show, and he definitely got me thinking. Yeah, I mean, you definitely changed a few things in my mindset. I've never met Chris Brackett before, and to be able to meet him, and then just we were at the Next Gen booth, Next Gen Blinds, and
well, if you're talking about Next Gen, my buddy Seth is the dealer.
Yes,
Seth Burnham. He interned for Grant Woods, and he was paid intern for me, and he's a good dude. He's married, hustling right now at his real job. What he does, he has Next Gen Blinds. Actually, I told him, I said, listen, if you want to put one up here where people can see it or whatever, my place is to sell land or my menu. So when I sell land as a broker in Illinois, I normally take everybody to my farm. And I'm like, dude, you can put one front and center. I mean, I might have to hunt it all year, but you can put it up if you wanted to. So we haven't made that happen yet, but I really like the window systems. I'm a big one on Windows. So.
Absolutely, 100%. And I'm not gonna lie to you too. I'm and Jalen at Next Gen about being a partnership with Appointed. So I get it. When Zach and I were there, we that was one big thing. We wanted to test the windows because we've been in blinds, and when you get into those certain blinds where you are actually moving the window back towards you and trying to film, just so much movement. But these are on point.
Yeah, no, I like turtles, man. I like turtles. I always said that if I could buy a company, I would buy a turtle. I would buy blind turtles because I like to cut my own windows in them. I don't even like to open windows. And I got 2 in my barn, still waiting to get put out. But I want to get back to turkeys. So the turkeys come in all these subspecies: Kansas, Nebraska, and then like Oklahoma. You have this mix of Merriam turkeys, which have a big white fan, and then you have the Rio that has kind of the little golden. It has a little golden color to it, and the coolest part about hunting like Pawnee City, Nebraska, man, was I would make I would make one call out to a turkey, and I may have a Merriam, a Rio, or an Eastern show up. And so I loved back in the day going out there bow hunting real early in the season. But a lot of times you find when we were talking about spurs and they got a lot bigger, if you have a rocky, sandy area with the Merriams and stuff, Merriam spurs just don't get very long. Every once in a while you get one with like ivory tips. I don't know if that has like domesticated turkey in there or what. But, turkeys with those spurs, they're big jokers if they get big. In Florida, a lot of times, because Florida doesn't have a lot of rocks, a lot of wet vegetation. But in the rocks, they bang those spurs up a lot. They round them off. So Merriams tend to have more of a barnyard turkey spur. Did you know about the beards? Did you know about that the
I
beards
knew.
would rub off?
Obviously, you watch trail cameras and you watch them feed and you see them rubbing. Yeah. But I did not know. I did not know how they rub off like that. So that was a nugget you dropped on me.
Yeah. So sometimes you'll get a guy that'll be like, I got on the 13 beard. Probably just came out weird, and it just but it's definitely somebody making something out of a bigger deal than what it is. So it's just it's like, oh, it had this, like when the turkeys were first taken from Missouri and put into Illinois and all over, traded for elk back in the day when the DNR would trade animals. The original species of wild eastern turkey in Missouri sometimes will have one extra feather. Forget how many they have, like 18 or something. They have one extra one. And then sometimes in the middle of that fan, that middle feather, and sometimes the other on the other sides, in the original genetics, will have these barred white, black and white. And that's a true way to tell that those original birds from like northern Missouri, Kirksville area have that kind of lineage in there. I'm not a turkey, guru, but I know enough that I've heard the stories and I kind of have paid attention, being a woodsman and stuff. But yeah, that's another cool one about turkeys. I don't think people understand that they don't have to get wild with turkey calls. If people were to be patient and kind of enjoy the areas and run trail cameras and deer hunt for turkeys, you could be a lot more patient. But I think people get really excited to hear them gobble. In the South, in Georgia, and these big pine groves and these big pieces of timber and these big pieces of public, you can run and gun and run and gun all day long and try to strike a turkey and go to a different farm and try to strike a turkey and then get on them and run and gun. In the Midwest, man, it's not like that. You may have 100 acres and they're either on you or they're not. They might be roosted on another farm, but they may go a mile in a day where those toms are kind of doing a turkey rut, and you may be able to get on them. I found out that a lot of my friends don't know how to turkey, and I try to teach them to where they can get a push button yelper and do a cadence of 9 to 11 yelp calls, starting lower, going higher. They don't have to call loud. A lot of it is if you can just get a little, just a little contentment call, and you just get these little things and you scratch the leaves. This is such a deadly tactic in Illinois because we don't have very big woodlots, and these turkeys will just, they'll be hung up on a ridge or whatever. I don't think people know the 101s on how to get, a turkey loves to come uphill, doesn't like to cross a creek, he doesn't like to cross a fence. Sometimes he won't even cross a log to get to you. So remember that if you get one to gobble and he's gobbling in the middle of the day, you need to go around him, get in the wide open, and call him up the hill to you. And that's kind of turkey hunting, kind of 101 for us. We have landowner tags, and then in Illinois you have to put in like 4 or 5 months in advance. You have to pick a county, and then you have to get a season. And one of the seasons will be like season 1 through 5. And season 1 through 5, my wife drew a first season and I drew a first season. So we went after these birds. We were running a little lake in the kill plot in the white gold clover rush back there. Count them, 9 gobblers in an 1/8 acre little clover plot, right down from the roofs, right into the plot. Couldn't even make it to the plot. And they were coming up the gauntlet. And I hit the ground and me and my wife rolled off the edge. And I called all 9 birds up, and she was kind of to my left and kind of couldn't see her. And I was just like, I wasn't trying to like double up. I just want to make sure she got one. She loves it. So she has 9 full strutters in front of her. When I tell you this woman is spoiled to death with turkeys, there wasn't a hen around, all of them coming up through the locust trees, and she blasts one's face off mid-gobble. And then I actually dumped one while he was running away. And that bird got up and he fought with the other ones, and then they all went off. We looked and looked for like an hour. So the next day I come back and I went over the hill and I left my decoys up and I went chasing this one. Isn't this how it always happens? I went chasing this one and I come back up into the clover plot. And as I'm walking up the hill, I find like a dozen morel mushrooms. I pick those and I hear, oh, in the plot. I'm like, man, they're in the decoys, aren't they? He's like, yep. And so I creep up over the hill and I belly crawl over the hill, and there's these 2 giant strutters in the decoys getting ready to attack the decoy. And I blew one's head off, and he just kind of flopped around and took off kind of running. It was really weird. I had to shoot him again. He's only like 20 yards. It's just really weird how it kind of happened. So those were our turkey experiences. And the other one, we kind of deer hunted. We killed them all in the same area. And the third one was one of my good friends, Jake. He had last day of the first season. And we just went to the kill plot, put the decoys out, sat in the blind. Had turkeys gobble all the way around us. We waited them out. And if you guys are just learning how to turkey hunt, if you don't kill them off the roost, which only about 5% of the time you kill them within the first hour off the roost, you want to, reset, go to a place that that the turkeys use the cameras, and at 9 o'clock they'll start gobbling. 9 o'clock, the hens kind of drift away, the gobblers get angsty, they fight all morning, and then they'll start doing their little rounds, and they kind of do a turkey rut. So be ready to run that 9 o'clock to 9:30. They're going to start gobbling again, make a move on one, and try to kill one. And then if you can get that bird to strike around 11 to noon, you got to try to get them killed before 1 in Illinois because our season stops at 1. Those are kind of your turkey tips. So run these cameras. Go ahead and pay your money, run these cameras, your trail cameras through the spring turkey season. You'll learn a lot. You guys, I saw a really giant turkey season. He already had 10 inches of antler, and they were already as big around as my wrists. They were. He was just a giant. Now he might be this really old giant 8-pointer that we got, but it was his velvet was the size of this water bottle, and it was the earliest for antler velvet growth that I have ever seen in all my days, 46 years. Have you, Bucky, seen anything down in Iowa or Western Illinois?
Sir,
fun stories?
Yes, sir. We got a nice one that's growing at wall stud whitetails for sure.
He's all about the plugs, everybody. He's all about the plugs.
That's it. You got
Bucky's a plugger.
I'm a plugger. But yes, but hey, real quick, let me throw it back to the turkey because I want to tell you.
Are you going to plug something?
No, sir.
Oh.
I want to. My bucket list is a Merriam, and I learned from a guy that came into camp, and I didn't know this, but he told me, and if it's true, I'll have to look it up. But he said the Merriam beards don't get very long at all.
They freeze off.
Yeah, and I did not know that. That was I said, when I was speaking to him, I figured that they had beards like Easterns, and that's what we're used to.
Yeah, they're just like the Eastern is like the Godzilla of the birds. They gobble, big barrel-chested, thunder ground, big, vibrating their muscles and spitting and drumming. The Merriam turkey, the craziest thing is like you can't hear them as far away as you can the Easterns because they're just like a big chicken, man. They're like a big chicken. If you're going to go hunt Merriams and want to kill the most beautiful Merriam on the planet, go to North or South Dakota, find a barnyard that they've been eating through the cow crap and the leftover grain around that farm. You'll find hundreds of them in one cottonwood above the cattle pen, and they'll come every night and they'll be there every morning. And that's the easiest way is to hunt somewhere in and close to a barnyard because that's where they eat all winter and they group up into groups of hundreds. And when you hear them gobble, they're always, you've got that Eastern thing where it's like this rattle. And then you have this Merriam turkey that sounds like might as well be a clown turkey. Like they're just laughing at you. they're cool, but they literally are when you go to take kids to a petting zoo and you're like, turkey, gobble, and you yell and you whistle, whatever. And that's what they sound like.
Right.
But they do. They get up in these big cottonwoods. Number one, their nutrition isn't the same as an eastern bird, so they're lighter. They're the most beautiful turkey. And there's not a lot of pure Merriams anymore because of those Rios and those easterns. But they do. They freeze off, man. They get all that ice and stuff on that feather, and those beards freeze off. And I got one in the other room, and I killed a bunch of them. And I killed one with a big ivory hook, and I killed another with that same bird where I did like a bow with no blind grand slam in one spring. Was the end of that Ryan Klesko blue rhino hunt that we did with Locash. Dude, he broke off his spur because they fought so much. And this was in a barnyard. But these turkeys came from 2 miles away through this cottonwood bottom all the way to this where they wanted to strut this old homestead with these cottonwoods around, and they just don't have big ears. And I remember being with Jimmy Lee, was one of my buddies back in the day when we were traveling, and we actually were hunting one in a double bull blind back in the old days, and we were sitting at the bottom and we killed this big Merriam's, but with a bow. But we sat there and he listened to those hens yelp, and he actually got into his bag. He had carried this little tackle box, and he made calls in the blind where he didn't run like the tape, like a lot of these pro guys. They don't run the tape. They just run the little bracket that has the little prophylactic call in there. He would cut this thing. Hens had a different rasp to them that maybe it was because of like the kind of their terrain, maybe it has something to do with the evolution of them, but he would make a call and he would test it out and he would cut it and he would do it to where he imitated identical to these hens that were calling all morning, because they're really vocal hens. They all want to live together in these ditches because of the predators. They can get away from 100 eyes. So you get 100 eyes with 50 turkeys, and so that's kind of how they defeat predators. But it's fun. You guys should go out there. I recommend South Dakota. Back in the old days, you could go to like the Indian areas. They would sell a tag, or around those big open areas. But man, all turkey. I think it's the predation. I think it's the raccoons and the possums, and I don't really think it's the hunters. I don't really think it might be the weather, unexpected weather, and cold springs and the nesting and stuff. But I don't know. I'm not a turkey biologist.
I had I stopped at a farm to try to get some permission in Iowa, and the owner actually told me that they had a bunch of toms and stuff last year, and through the course of the middle of the season, they found a really big bobcat, and he said that absolutely demolished
the turkey herd.
The turkey herd.
Turkey flock. Yeah. I mean, I think the bobcats get a bad rap. One, I wish I'd kill every one of them here in Illinois. I do think they decimate the quail, pheasant pop. We don't have very many, but I think they take down the turkeys. I know they're heck on squirrels. I think the bobcat died. I mean, the squirrels. I mean, they're the only ones that can get up that tree and get that squirrel. I really think they're mainly squirrels, but I would say that there's more and more of them. But I would blame the raccoon
more so.
I saw a field on fire, and it was like Ghost in the Darkness. They're hunting lions. I set the CRP field on fire, switchgrass. I had 14 raccoons run out of just that field for the last 5 feet. Some of them were smoking on fire, whatever, but they were living in the CRP switchgrass. Like, they don't even climb trees anymore. They just burrow in this 2-year-old switchgrass, and it's like Ghost in the Darkness, man. They come running out when I set them on fire, and they come out. Pretty cool. But I mean, that's kind of the turkey stories. I still got a tag. It's still the season. I'll probably go out. But when you guys do stuff like, for your deer and your big clover plots and your stuff, and you keep them trimmed up, that's why I plant clover plots. That's why I plant good clover. Like, this is a clover plot that we killed all 3 of our birds off of on 1,000 acres. We hunted 10, and all these birds were coming to eat the bugs and eat the clover. And then Levox in Nebraska were down in Tennessee, and they were sending me pictures of these seeds from the gizzard of the stomach, pretty much gizzard of the turkeys, and they said, "Hey, what is this? This looks like buckwheat." And we did some thinking, and I'm like, I know there's a tree out there. It doesn't look like buckwheat. It's a little lighter brown, and we actually found a beech nut tree. So if you guys are out there and have beech nut trees and you're turkey hunting, this is a new one that I had really never keyed in on, but every turkey they killed had beech nuts in it. It looks like a little poppy plant, and it breaks open in the fall, and it has these little seeds, and every turkey that they killed had those beech nuts in it. So that'd be fun if somebody was bored and had a bunch of beech nuts, if you put a camera on them and just seeing how many turkeys showed up on these trees. But, I mean, I want to talk about some Miscanthus right now, but, have you guys seen, you're seeing my shirt if you're watching on YouTube, but I got this great company out of Wisconsin, Al from Lowdown. They are a supporter of the show.
So you're not plugging right there?
No, this is actually every breath that I take. I don't have a sponsor down the host of the show. So I was riding in my Dodge Ram, appointed outdoors super cab, Holland Quincy, while I was playing with my turkey calls. No, this isn't it. This is
my man.
So this Lowdown. Here's a koozie for you. Put your ice cold Coca-Cola in that. I didn't realize it was in the box. So Lowdown, actually, I've been looking for something like this Lowdown right here. And it is essentially a grown man's land management tablet. All right. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Tablet. This is what it looks like for all you guys watching. Right. I had it queued up. But this Lowdown right here, my buddies that I just saw here, that's a screen, right? 4K screen. It's got two places. It's got two places for SD cards right there. One is the camera card from the trail camera, and the other one I use as pretty much a hard drive. So I got the card in one. It's got a 9-inch viewfinder. Let me kind of give you the lowdown on the Lowdown. It's a high-speed trail camera viewer. So I sat the other morning at coffee, and I went through this trail camera card from all winter. And all the stuff that, when a cell camera takes a picture, it sends the first one, but a lot of times I put it on multi-shot, and I don't get to look at those pictures. So I'll grab that card. I'll grab that card when I'm out there on a rainy day. I like to go on a rainy day because I can slip in and pull these cards. So I run about 60% cell cameras. I run about 40% regular trail cameras still to document the entire year using like lithium batteries or whatever in a Browning, and I'll get thousands of pictures on something. I'll pick up a Browning for like $69 or whatever, and I'll just stick it in the woods, but only a couple times in the year. Like when I killed my buck, I went around, I'd already disturbed the woods. My second buck, I was tagged out. I went through and I grabbed all my cards. And you know how when you're out there and you slip in to hunt and that trail camera is just a couple feet away or 30 yards away, and you think in the back of your head, you're like, I didn't bring an extra SD card. That happens all the time. Every farm I do a consult on, every time we're showing, we're running around. He's like, hey man, I got a camera over here. Let me see if I got a card. Well, we never have cards. We always forget them, wash them through the wash or whatever. So the cool part about the Lowdown is not only can it do and like here, but not only can you view your pictures on here and your video, but the coolest part, man, is I can shove this SD card in here and I can hit download and it will download to the big card. And I can just have it in my pack or in my truck or in my side-by-side. And I can just run over, grab the card, throw it in here, push download. It downloads them all to the big card. And then I don't have to keep a bunch of trail camera cards with me. So, think of that. If you have an extra 20 or 30 cards, that's an extra, $10, $20 a piece? You're looking at $200, $300 in extra cards. This baby, you just get this, and then you can kind of download anything. But anyways, that was Lowdown. Check them out. I don't even know the website.
That'd be kind of cool too. Like, going in on the way to hunt, Go out by your trail camera.
Give you something to do.
Give me something to do. Sit in the blind.
Yeah, because I haven't had this since the season's been. Yeah, man, check it out. It's made by Hunter's Mate in Wisconsin. Lowdownviewer.com. Go check them out, you guys. Check them out on Instagram and Facebook and whatever. I tag them a lot. Well, we just love the support. We appreciate you guys, and it works. I was just with my buddy the other day. I was up north, and actually we just sold a farm yesterday. We bought one from Whitetail Properties for one of my clients. We just bought a farm, really cool farm, and we were talking about how he goes, man. I said, have you guys seen that lowdown? And he said, yeah. He said, dude, I will. And he said, well, how would I use it? I said, well, for a guy like me, that has so many pictures, like 1,000, let's say 1,000 pictures, it would take a long time to go through them 8 at a time. But I told Brad, I said, hey, Brad, like, here's how you would use one. When I roll up to the farm, I don't always bring my SD cards, or I'm coming back from a business meeting, or I'm out there at my farm fishing or whatever. I can roll in there with that, throw that card in, download, reformat, and put it in the camera and get out. And I'm like, that right there is worth its weight in gold. So check out Logan. Anyways, that's why I love them. And then, I talked a little bit about the fork knot switchgrass, because I think that's going to kind of go with the Miscanthus that we're going to talk about. If you guys don't know what Miscanthus grass is, me and Bucky, and I think we got some other help coming, are going to plant some Miscanthus. I like to plant Miscanthus grass where I use it as a board. I'm not sponsored by Real World or whatever. I just think that they have a bona fide, non-invasive, best species or genealogy of the Miscanthus grass that holds its leaves long enough. When I first saw it, I had to have it. And over the last 4 or 5 years, I have begun 50 to 60,000 rhizomes planted on my own personal farm, let alone the farm I live on, and a couple of the other ones. But I have planted, we planted 12 to 14,000 in one day before. I've tried every way to put them in. The best thing, if you don't know what it is, let me describe it. Miscanthus grass. Picture a really big seed, which is AKA a root, AKA a rhizome, about 3 to 5 inches in length. Looks like a big crooked witch finger. Looks like a big giant turkey foot, and it has these little nobes off of them, and each one of these little bumps off of them come from what will and can turn into its own, like, kind of growth piece of grass, stalk, bamboo kind of stalk looking thing that had leaves come off of it. And so each time you put that in the ground, 3 to 4 inches underneath the dirt, that little root will grow into a root ball that will keep throwing every single year in on itself, non-spreading with seeds, up out of the ground, will make a 10 to 15 foot wall when planted next to each other. The plant in diameter will be anywhere between 2 to 3 feet in diameter, as like a big bush, a fast growing grass, ornamental kind of grass. They are used in biomass fuel type situations, studied by the University of Illinois, grown a lot in North Carolina. And so we utilize them after seeing them promoted by Don Higgins and then elite Kevin Boyer. The first time I'd ever seen him was Kevin Boyer was talking about him when he was with Real World and talking about Maple River. Well, I don't believe Maple River makes one that holds its leaves long enough. It's very, very stemmy, but doesn't hold the leaves. And I do know that Don has, I think Nagira is the made by Agro or whatever down in North Carolina. I think is where he gets them from. He's got the market cornered because I can't find them anywhere else. And so we buy them through Real World. I buy them through Tim Sisk. But when you plant this little root in the ground, it becomes this giant ball and gets thicker and thicker. When you plant it, normally 12 to 18 inches apart in a line. And then you try to plant a line, each line 3 to 5 rows. So 3 to 5 rows. and each plant is 12 inches apart, and each row, when I originally started planting them, I normally planted them at like 2 feet apart. Each row was 2 feet apart, and then each plant was 12 inches to 18 inches. I like to plant each root or rhizome 12 inches apart, but I like the rows to be 5 to 7 feet apart. That gives the line ability to grow together, but it gives them the ability to grow really wide without the competition of the other row. And my mistakes in learning young, let me learn, and so I can teach you here on LandLife, is plant the rows really far apart, 5 to 7 feet apart. One, it'll give you a chance to walk through them if you need to. I think it's good for the critters to be able to walk down the lines, pheasants or whatever. But I like planting 12 inches apart on the row, on center. Does that make sense? Am I describing that, Bucky, correctly?
Yes, sir.
12 inches apart, boom, 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 boom. And then the rows, 3 foot apart is the minimum I think I would go. 5 foot is probably recommended. I even go as wide as 7 feet. And then I'll do them on my driveway at my place. I have 7 rows of Miscanthus. Sometimes I plant them with my tree planter. Sometimes I plant them with a trencher with a big blade and I backfill it. I also believe that if you had access and wanted to spend high dollar, you could trench them in, put the Miscanthus in, and you could take bags of mulch. I truly believe this. I'm giving away my secrets. Listen up. I believe you could grab a crap ton of cheap mulch, and I think you could trench the ditch, throw them in there 12 inches apart, and pour bags of mulch over top of them, doming them up, and I think they would grow like absolute wildfire. I think somebody could start a business right here. I'm going to just stay in the podcast business and the educating. If anybody wants to start a business, I really think that you could start them and go neighborhood to neighborhood. And you could show up there with a trencher, a handheld wand, and sprayer package with 2,4-D, Roundup, and atrazine or simazine. And atrazine or simazine, the entire 2 foot wide strip, make 2 rows there, and you could have fences where these HOAs don't allow real fences, and you could make these essential grass privacy hedgerows. And that's a good business model. Take it up, guys. Do it. Somebody do it. We already do experiment with that, but that's definitely not my juice worth the squeeze. Mine is better to work with a company like Lowdown that will pay me, that I can give you a promo code, and then I can make money doing that way. And I tell you about turkeys, the turkey beards, and entertain you for the next 20 years of my life. This is what I'm concentrating. It's been very clear to me, guys. So, Miscanthus, man. But when you put them in these rows, these things grow like wildfire. And remember, they're grass. So grass likes what? Nitrogen. How can the grass use the nitrogen? Well, you're going to have to get your pH up. How do you get your pH up? Use lime. How much lime? Pelletized lime, regular lime? How much lime doesn't matter. Lime anytime. You can't put too much lime on. Lime anytime. What are you going to do? Liquid nitrogen? You're going to do 4600. Don't burn your little plant. Wait till he's up. What is the greatest thing that you can do to your Miscanthus planting or switchgrass planting? When you put it in the ground, it is a live rhizome. It is a live plant right now. Simazine doesn't kill live plants. It's on contact. Make sure you don't get Roundup or 2,4-D on your plant. Yes, 2,4-D can burn your grasses if applied too heavy or if applied with nitrogen. Even though it's not a grass killer, it's a broadleaf killer. Why do you put 2,4-D with it? Well, if I put 2,4-D with Roundup at the right application rate that's stated on the bottle itself, I can kill everything alive right there with those two together. And then I can put a pre-emerge like atrazine or simazine, depending if you have your license and if you can buy atrazine or simazine. Simazine you order online at 2.5 gallons. I just looked it up for a guy that stopped by and got some Rhyzomes. I think it's $100 to $136 per 2.5 gallon of simazine. How much would you put per acre or square foot? I think it was 1.8 ounces per square foot. I think that's what I looked up today for, which equals out to about 2 quarts per acre. and not using a full tank, been able to put on too much simazine or atrazine to affect the rhizome because it's such a hardy little plant. But it won't let anybody else grow. It will let the rhizome grow. So make sure you're doing your burn down and your simazine or atrazine after you put these babies in the ground. I recommend 3 rows minimum. And if you want to feed these little plants, and the number one question, ready for this? Let me hit a button. Whoa. Oh, ready? Ready? Here's the enlightenment. Ready? You guys? It's a grass. How tall is it going to grow? Is always the question. How tall the first year will this grow? How long will it take to get big and strong and up there, whatever? I don't know. Did God provide us with a crap ton of rain right now and it's muddy out and you can't plant it yet? Because I can't plant it yet. So I'm doing a podcast. Is it dry and beautiful, rocky ground, which it loves rocky ground so all the little roots can grow in on itself? How much will it grow? Well, if you get it in the beginning of May or the end of it, and it starts growing and it makes its first shoot out of the ground, how tall will that get? Well, how big was that root that you put in? Is it a bunch of them? Is it a big root? Or is it just one little root? So a lot of it is going to affect how much competition you have. That is what the Roundup and the 2,4-D and the simazine, atrazine pre-emerge is. It's to get rid of all the competition. Keep all the competition out and feed it with nitrogen. Feed it with lime, lots of lime. Just start liming, dumping bags of lime on it, and then pour some nitrogen, pelletized nitrogen, just a little bit, 4600 or triple 13 or whatever. This stuff will fly out of the ground. But the number one thing is to make sure it doesn't have competition. I'm on year 2, and it's spring, and it grew to 4 or 5 feet. That's your answer. 4 or 5 feet normally first year. Very spindly. Now, you guys that have planted them over the last year or 2, and the guys listening out there that are clients that I've planted for, they're 4 or 5 foot this year. What do you do right now as they are growing out of the ground right now? How do you beat this competition? Simazine, quinclorac, aka XLR8, ordered online. Simazine, ordered online with XLR8 quinclorac. Count white bottles, 50 ounces per tank per acre. I don't know how big your area is. That's what I'm putting down. The quinclorac is going to kill crabgrass, foxtail, all the competition. It will not kill Kentucky bluegrass and regular yard grass fescue. Will not kill it. So it's not going to kill it. Add some 2,4-D to it. You're going to kill everything that's broadleaf. That's the best you can do. You can get out ahead of this next season before the miscanthus grows. Mow everything you got and put simazine right on top of it way early in the year, and you're going to help kick back some of those other grasses. That's about it. That's the only way you can do it. How do I use miscanthus? Well, we have used miscanthus to block from roads, 3 to 4 to 5 rows off the side, even up to 7 rows off the side of a field. You may have a cove that you're planting at in your food plot, and then you put 3 or 4 rows across the top, and you put your blind in that, and you're hunting into these, big fingers like we have in Illinois, into these ditches and into Iowa. You put them across. You get those tall. You put your blind in there. What blind we putting in there?
Oh, are you asking me for a plug?
Yeah.
Oh, next gen.
Next gen. We're going to do next gen. We'll put a next gen right there. We'll have Seth come build it right there in that grass, and then you hunt into the food on the other side. Food plot out. That's how we utilize miscanthus. Also, realize that when you plant miscanthus next to tree roots, next to a tree, like a tree line, you're going to have those roots robbing the nutrients and robbing the water. So I have areas that I've planted them on the edge of my timber. They just don't get big and thick, and so it's just going to take a little while. And so you have to know that. Yeah, so that's miscanthus. Look up giant miscanthus. I also like to go about 5 to 10 feet on the inside of my miscanthus. I leave once I kill the competition, and then I'll go ahead and put switchgrass in. And then I'll have kind of this real beauty of switchgrass going into miscanthus. When it comes to food plot seed, you guys, so when I was down and out and I was in the middle of my my wilderness that I was in, I was still in the middle of planting food plots and going into my, you guys know me, for 20 years I've been researching seed, selling food plot seeds, selling all this stuff that I was helping experiment with. And over the years, I've came up with my own concoctions, whether I bought it at Kelly Seed and I made my concoctions. But there was one thing that I was always, when it came to seed, I am a stickler at, and that is freshness, right? Fresh seed. I'm not going to go to a Bass Pro or a box store and buy my seed. And not to say that you shouldn't, but I am just so particular when it comes to how fresh my seed is and the germ rate and getting my, pun intended, bang for my buck. I'm just not going to go to a box store and take a chance that it's been sitting there. So I'm a white gold guy. I got a couple here. This is the one that I need to tell you about because we're in Switchgrass. Right here is Fort Knox. This is my particular blend, Switchgrass. This is my concoction with the boys. And then October Magic. We got a lot of people fired up about October Magic. Let me show you what I've been doing. I'll give you a rundown of all four of these. These are my favorite. Then I've got some fall blends coming out that we're really going to be telling you about this summer. So hold on 2 seconds. Those of you that are watching get to see these beautiful bags with my pictures of my food plots on them. This is Gold Strike and Clover Rush. These are my two favorite clover alfalfa blends. It's still early enough to put them down right now. You guys north of Illinois, about Illinois, middle of the line here, if you put them down with a cover crop, you're going to have an amazing crop. I would go with some Jerry oats or some oats in and around about 10 to 20 pounds per acre of one of these bad boys, either Gold Strike or Clover Rush. You can buy them online. Why am I working with white gold when I buy some of my seed from like Kelly Seed or my local people? Well, because I know that I can get online and get them fresh online to my doorstep. No matter if I'm in Kansas or Ohio, wherever you're at, I know that the best quality seed that I can get is shipped right to your door. So Clover Rush, Gold Strike, I love it. I just love it. I can't say enough. I have more pictures on my Instagram, Chris Brackett's LandLife, and it's just so good. A good clover plot just doesn't get any better than that. And then, this is the one that I think people are right now in the mood to buy switchgrass, and this is 1 acre. This is 7 pounds. This will do a little more than an acre, but you never have it when you plant it. You might spill some or whatever. So I don't want you to be short on it. But this has got a purity of, it's got, we're at 87% germ rate, 66% germ rate, 85% germ rate, no inert matter really in there. And this is out of Michigan. So this is 6 pounds. So this is perfect. So I try to plant mine at 4 to 5 pounds per acre. And that is either with a no-till drill or just working the plot up. If you haven't caught up on how to put in switchgrass, I have one of the other podcasts, one of the other episodes. Episode 22 is all about switchgrass, how to plant it, what to do. If you're wanting to put switchgrass in there, go kill it with 2,4-D and Roundup right now. Go kill the area, whether it's along the edges of your fields. Go get in there and kill about 10 feet along the edges of your timber with 2,4-D and Gly right now. It's 60 degrees outside, 70 degrees, go kill it. Get it dead. Then once you get it dead, go ahead and give it a day or so. Then till it up with your tiller or your disc. Spread 5 to 6 pounds this of Fort Knox white gold switchgrass. Put it down. Call the packet in, run it over with your tires, and then go back over it and spray it with Simazine at 2 quarts per acre. And you will have beautiful knee to hip tall switchgrass by September. And it will be beautiful. And then by next year, it'll be 6-7 foot tall. Your deer will be bedding just inside your timber. You can slip around your fields a lot easier. It's beautiful. Your wife will like going to your farms and seeing this. But this right here was made so that we could ship you. If you said, hey, I have 5 acres I want to do, you can get 5 bags of this. This is Fort Knox. Go check them out. White gold deer feed. But really, all you have to do to check out this You guys have heard me. This right here is October Magic. This is going to be, we're going to have so many awesome pictures this year of big deer in October Magic because a lot of guys haven't tried Milo or sorghum with peas and with soybeans. And you want to hear more about October Magic? I talked about that. So, October Magic, the switchgrass, and then the clovers, and of course your fall blends. We got a new one, Claim Jumper. You guys ever used? Well, I know Jody has helped me plan about everything. But Bucky, have you ever used collard greens and daikon radishes added to a fall blend before?
Actually, I've used white gold before, so.
Well, never collard greens. That's not in most mixes.
No,
this is special.
No, I have not used that, but I'm just saying I've used white gold. So I know.
Yeah,
I'm
so
just
you know
backing you up.
Fever.
Yep.
Yes, you know Gold Fever is like a classic radish, turnip, Essex rate, just a good blend of brassicas. And everybody has, I feel like everybody has their own, Deadly does it in there. They have all these like their favorite brassica mix. Might have a little bit of rye or something. But I feel like everybody has their own brassica mix. And they hear me talk on Facebook and stuff, Chris Brackett's LandLife, on Facebook or wherever I do my lives. And I think that everybody heard me always say, like, well, I go radish heavy. So I'll buy a brassica, right? And then I will add in radishes, extra radishes, because I know how much they like them in October and they're the preferred one. And so I've got one that has radishes and collard greens that's called Claim Jumper. That if you're ordering your fall food plot stuff, you can put it with your favorite brassica seed, whether it's St. King or whether, it's whatever. You can put this in with it, mix it up. It's going to add about a half acre. But if you're feeding it with good lime and fertilizer, you'll be able to feed it big enough to where you can just add that 10-pound bag and you're going to be able to get 1.5 acres to 2 acres out of it. But it's going to be radish heavy with collard greens, and it's going to be fire. So I'm really excited about that. Is there any other questions about Miscanthus or Go LandLife brand? So golandlife.com. You guys want to go check out everything we do, the consultations, the selling land, all that stuff is Go Land. Just go check out golandlife.com. It'll explain everything we do. But while I say that, is there anything Miscanthus-wise that you would ask somebody that's planning just a heck of a
Well, I'm gonna say, with me being green on a lot of this Miscanthus stuff, yesterday when you took us to your farm and we got to see that, knowing that you're saying that it's a grass, and just the way that it looks, the way that it has grown, I would not have said that. I honestly, no, I wouldn't think it would be a grass. It's more like a bamboo style, growth. And
I
to walk through it and feel it is not.
What I'm really saying there is like, people overthink it. You can get grass to grow. Grass loves nitrogen. And if you can keep the competition away from grass grows like crazy. If you can keep the weeds and the dandelion stuff out, the grass will grow a lot faster. So I think what I'm saying is if you look at a piece of grass in your yard, that grass doesn't just grow one blade. It clumps out from there.
Sure.
So a switchgrass is the same. A Miscanthus is the same. They're clumping out in whatever space you give it, it'll grow. Like, remember our old baseball fields out in the outfield? They have clumps all over it, dirt, and that ball would hit that clump and come up and smack you in the face. Like that grass is growing out of the clump. So Miscanthus is the same, just grows a lot taller. Switchgrass is the same. They just have Miscanthus doesn't have as deeper roots, but a big root ball that holds its own moisture. Switchgrass will grow 7 to 11 foot tap roots that'll go and survive a drought. That's why the plains were the way they were when they had native grasses. But yeah, remember when you're planting it, 2,4-D, simazine, these things, you're just controlling the grass. And they go, well, can you burn it every year? Like, yeah, you can burn it every year. What will burning do? Well, it'll kick back all the other plants, keep the trees out of it, and put nitrogen with the carbon in the ground. And then they're like, well, what if you, can you mow it? You're like, it's grass, mow it. I don't want it 12 or 14 foot tall. I just want it 5 foot. Okay, mow it twice and then let it go for the rest of the year. I think that's what I'm saying when I'm saying.
It's a very interesting plant for sure.
Isn't it beautiful, though, with the big wavy tips and the tops and the little cattails, and like it's eccentric.
Absolutely 100%.
So, I mean, that's been episode 24. I know I gave Bucky a little bit of a hard time about the plugin, but, that's how we pay the bills. If you're interested,
That's the game.
If you're doing stuff with, if you want to do stuff with LandLife, if you want to get the word out there. I mean, Lowdown has seen a big increase of traffic, which is all we're here. We essentially are a media company that talks about things that would be of great interest to people that love land and that we can feature it on a show. And that's how we fund this. And our goal is to put out as many as possible. You know, I do everything right here, and I've never shied away from the fact that my job is to sell you a piece of land, educate you in selling you a piece of land that is you being as educated as you can, being on my team, and us going after a piece of land, getting you, whitetail equity in that land, whether it be trees or whether it be making a pond or planting apple trees or food plots or redesigning it or doing a console on it. My job is to give you value. And I hope that you use me for all your transactions and referrals all over the country. If you're buying a piece of land, in any state out there and you want my expertise and you want to be on my team, you call me and I will represent you. We will find you the best realtor there, and I will get paid from their referral to me. I will be on your team, and you will get essentially a consult every time we look at a piece of ground. I'll tell you where I find value in it, and I think if it's right for you, and we'll have an in-depth conversation about it. And if you're in Illinois, let's go look at a farm. If you're wanting to sell your farm, let me sell that back. It may be that you're thinking about selling it and we have to do some work to it. And I'll come look at it and say, hey, let me just do this quick work to it and get this plan together. Sometimes all it takes, like on this one, we just signed the paperwork today for my friend that we went up, and it was like 49 acres, and they just didn't have the food in the right spot. They had the camper in the middle of where the food should be, and they had the farm backwards, and I cannot believe it was on the market for a week and a half. I really can't believe it was on the market for a week and a half. I walked on it for 5 minutes and looked at it and said, if you don't buy it, I'm gonna buy it. Because I know the value of this piece. I know how small it was, and I knew right away from looking at it that the timber was big, the deer quality was incredible, that we just had to flip-flop. We had to take that food plot and move it. We had to go, let's take less food off of here and get more strategic. These other guys are going to feed them. They're going to come in here to run these does. This wind's going to be able to get off these thermals off this ridge. And it was got the paperwork signed today, closing 30 days, and he has an incredible property. I get paid by the sellers. He's super excited. And then I draw him a map and get him all set up where he normally would buy a $5,000 consult. In this case, he let the seller pay for it. And I did all my work for free, essentially, because I'm still making what my goal is, which is to help people. But the money's just going to either come from the client that hires me for the piece of property, or before that, if you're using me, you make that seller pay, because he's already set that aside. He's already set that aside. It's been negotiated by the listing broker, if you will. So I'm a broker at Herman Brothers Realty in Illinois, and we've talked about real estate. We've talked about real estate. I really think anybody that loves land needs to be a broker. I think they need to have their license. I think they need to learn, and I would love to teach people and have people on my team underneath me.
Yes, sir. I'm going to look into that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a life changer. I mean, you're talking to people about land every day. They're either selling and buying something new. They're either built equity in their farm and they're ready to cash out and invest in something else. Maybe there's a hardship there that you're talking to somebody that their parents died and they left them a farm. They're like, I don't even know what this is worth. I know it was, worth in sweat equity to my father and my grandfather, but I don't really know what it's worth. Can you help me? We walk them through that. How can you 1031 it into a new piece of property without having to pay taxes? Actually, something I explored this past week was Madison out of Ohio, a timber guy. The timber guy came, stayed. I learned a lot. He's in a place where somebody can hire this timber guy as a professional. He will come to your property and say, the land is worth X, whatever the bank appraises it for, whatever you're going to buy it for. But there are $75,000 worth of trees on this property, and that is personal property, and that is timber. That is not the land. You shouldn't be being taxed on this personal property that's on this land. And so he can actually help facilitate that, to have the timber be the timber and the land be the land, and then you're only taxed on the land. Not the trees. Why should you be taxed on the trees? You should be taxed on the land. We should be taxed at all, but if you're going to be taxed, might as well be on the land, not on the trees and the land together as one whole big expensive purchase. So he is starting a niche. Madison is starting a niche where he's out there and has to do trees. It's pretty cool, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you beat the system in taxing, I think that's the way to go.
Amen.
Right? Taxation is theft. Great. Now we're blocked. Now we're banned from everything. Hey guys, I really appreciate all the support that everybody has showed with LandLife and the podcast. And I know Chris Wing, I haven't been doing the podcast, but I've been trying to get all of your stuff ready and all my clients' stuff ready. And, sometimes there's people out there that come into your life, that are just dealing with some stuff. And that's what we've had over the last couple of weeks or so, is that no matter how much I want to wish best for some people in my life, that there's sometimes that's just not the course of action. One of my best friends in the world, like I brought him over here and I wanted something great for him, and I wanted to hand him things in my life that I had built and have him take it, run with it. And sometimes that's just not the course of action. So recently I've had to kind of re-ingest and do the physical labor of planting the food plots and looking at subcontracting guys. You roll with the punches. You roll with the punches in life, and you just wish the best for some people, and you are still there, and you try to be the rock as the big brother. You try to be the rock as a friend, and you just say, like, maybe it's best that I just concentrate on getting this stuff done, not being reactive to the situation, whether it's personal or mental or physical. Not being able to find yourself completely committed and plugged into something. Maybe it's just not for you, but you got to trust the path that God has you on. Trust that. You got to trust that you give your life to Him, and you go and you study and you know the good word of the gospel and the Scripture, and it's written in there. And I've been preaching on this the last couple of days, that if you are confused by feeling or confused by doing and acts and works, red flag yourself. Put yourself in timeout. Grab some scripture. Find out what the word says about it, not really what you're feeling. Get rid of those feelings. That feeling is most of the time triggered. Know that the men listening up and the women listening, know that your man, and men, we're talking to you, that we're broken. We're broken men trying to provide and survive. And I think the word there is to strive to survive. We are putting up with father issues. How do we fit into this world? What are we going after? What we're doing? What is our purpose? How we define ourselves? Do we define ourselves in the past? Do we define ourselves in the future, where we should be defining ourselves in the servant of an unbelievable Lord in Christ that
Amen.
died for our sins, and we're new. That's new blood, washed new blood. Do not be ashamed. Probably one of the coolest podcasts out there is listening to Phil Robertson and Jace and all them. And you guys know that I've been down there and friends with Willie and his wife, and been at Phil's house, and he just cooked me pralines and taught Jody how to do pralines, and we talked about ducks and whatever. But to listen to those words of their podcast, to not be ashamed. You're not defined by the things that you did. Let those go. Be washed in the blood. And that's what I implore on you this week, is to let go of those things. Seek and find forgiveness. And forgiveness is in repentance. So whether it's repenting to somebody that will listen to you, they will listen to you, apologize, and talk about the things that you know did wrong to them, whether it affected them or not, it's affecting you. So repent. And you don't have to repent to them. You can absolutely just repent, and He will listen, and He knows, and let Him do it. And just let Him, you just fall at his feet. You know that you serve a great, amazing, wonderful God. And when you find yourself, I was talking earlier about it is very tough to find things when you're chasing, hey, this is what I love. I say put the things I love and the feelings aside, get to a place without any of that. And it's super easy to see the pitfalls and the roadblocks and the Legos on the floor that are going to hurt your feet, and just the little stumbles and falls and stuff in front of you. When you can get rid of the emotion of love and say, I love these things. These are what I want to do. You move those loves to the side. And you look at them for what they are. You calm yourself down. You find it in Scripture and you follow that. And it doesn't mean that you can't learn to love these things, but you loving them through different eyes, through the Lord and through what He has for you. That's what Fear No Evil was about. Fear No Evil was about, it's the only Scripture I knew, Psalm 20. But I concentrated on the Fear No Evil aggressive part of that because I was an aggressive male. But I didn't pay attention to the lay next to cool waters. And sometimes it takes just being still, being by that cool water. And sometimes God is the Father hammering you down, saying, He's not just going, here, Chris, will you just lay next to the water in the cool grass? Sometimes He's like, lay down, stay still, listen, be in the present, look what's going on. So I implore you to look what's going on, slow down your life, figure out what's important, take care of your mentals. And
we're such busy people too. And I think finding that time to spend in His Word, spend in His presence, will also help you guide you into decisions or things that you need to do in your life. So
tractor time.
Absolutely 100. Line time. Yeah, a lot of people want to get on their phones, but instead of getting on your phone, talk to your Father.
I was joking about putting my wife in a timeout, but we had a great day on Sunday. And Sunday, the devil comes for us. Sunday, the devil comes for me and my wife. We're not rounding up kids. We kind of don't have anything to do. We know we're taking a chill day. And we got home from, we didn't go to church. We just spent time together that morning. And we went to Menards. We went to some other places and came home or whatever. And man, something just kind of got in her craw, and you could just tell her attitude changed. And literally, I did. And so instead of like fighting or whether it be good for us or bad, it was just one of the things where I wasn't going to let that ruin the day. And I kindly, lovingly said, you need a timeout. Can you go to the nice, cool room in the other room, lay in your bed? And she went in and got on her Scripture on her phone or whatever. And I walked in and I'm like, you good? And she's like, I'm looking at Scripture. I'm like, but maybe just be still. Just be calm. I'm loving on you. You may have took my tone, but I'm trying to cook you dinner. I'm trying to cook you dinner. And so, like, get out of my kitchen. I'm trying to do something nice. I'm trying to do, and it's just like, don't ruin the night because you think that I'm taking over your kitchen. Really, I'm just trying to help. So a lot of it is just slow it down and be in it. Be present. Be patient. Be present. Be patient and present. So this is LandLife episode 24. Thanks for being here, Bucky. And
thank you, Chris, so much.
Yeah, man. We'll look for some of your videos. We'll look for some of the videos. I don't have Waypoint or any of that other stuff, but we'll follow. I just started following you on both of my pages, and watch for the clips and the reels. And man, I'm gonna have to come check out that New Holland.
Okay, please do.
Do you really have the mulcher eater on the front of that thing?
Yes, I do.
That's the dude in Quincy.
So it's not Quincy Tractor, yeah.
Zach Carlson in Quincy for a while. I lived just north of Quincy in Mendon for a long time. Grew up there in the summers. And Quincy's a good town. I always felt like it was a small Peoria or whatever, but Quincy was a good town that took care of people. So that shout out to the New Holland dealer over there. What's his name?
Zach Carlson.
Man, he
is the man.
That's really cool. I have relationships right now with Central Illinois Ag. I'm wearing their hat and whatever, and I don't have access to a skid steer. I had a skid steer, man. I'd probably be digging water holes right now in the mud.
Hey, I'll throw a little piece of advice for you. Can I do that?
Yeah. Sure.
All right, do a little more plugs.
Oh my God. And on that note, everybody, hey, thanks. This is LandLife, episode 24. Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. And I need a tractor sponsor.
Thank
All
you.
right, peace out, everybody.